Athlon Waste.
Welcome to Athlon Waste. In the top left corner of the map, we have one of the best summer players of the Terran race. It is Liquid TaeJa. And his opponent, the Blue Terran, studying in Texas, an honorary American citizen. Give it up for CM Storm Polt.
It's going to be interesting going into Athlon Waste. Now, I do want to say that on this map, anything can really work. I would say on Neoplanet S, it's pretty hard to pull off something like a mech strategy because of the two lanes that you have to go down. But Athlon Waste, it features really nice positions. Like you can take your third reasonable if you're going mech or if you're going bio. Then you push out, you can take space, you can get your fourth base really quick. Fifth base isn't too bad either. So the fact of the matter is, like, there's no super good, this is the best way to play on this map. It comes down to style. Of course, a lot of these Korean players are favoring the bio-mech style, or excuse me, bio-tank style, just for the majority of maps because it straddles the fence. It's right in between being super mobile and also being just that really nice punch that you can give to your opponent.
Yeah, we have seen TaeJa play mech on this map before. And, well, I mean, I don't necessarily speak for it now because I don't know his feelings on it per se, because some Terran players are very mixed on mech. Some people like it, some people don't like it at all in TVT. Some people just think medevacs are too good relative to how good you can, or the power of the position of mech players. That said, let's talk a little bit about opening build orders. Polt's going to do something what TaeJa did in game number 1, which is a delayed gas and go for reactors so you can get production out, and just go for a delayed tech while getting a quicker expansion. TaeJa, meanwhile, has opted instead for a very quick double gas and a fast factory instead.
Yeah, kind of interesting. Just making sure that you have... oh, no, you're right. It's just the exact same thing as game number 1.
It's just
now,
flipped.
I'm interested to see if Polt goes for the Raven right away or he switches over and gets the Banshee. I really feel like Ravens are the more correct way, actually the more, I guess, comprehensive way to play it out. It's just a lot more defensive. You can stay alive against a lot more builds, but you never have that advantage, right? You never have that aggressive option where you can really say, yeah, this auto turret is going to net me 5 kills or 6 kills. No, the Banshee, though.
What kind of players are you playing? Your auto turrets get 5 or 6 kills?
You can't rely on something like that.
I need to play on your account more, man.
But the Banshees, they can, right?
Yeah,
like the Banshees, you can definitely say, yes, this will yield me results. That's why you can't really substantiate like, oh, I will be ahead from this build. It's just I'm at least, or at least neutral.
Well, one thing that's really interesting, and I like that Artosis pointed this out a while ago, was that counter cloaks are also very good, just like you said, for aggressive options. Just because sometimes people like to be really greedy after an aggressive opening. You go for a Banshee, but then you go like double command center while you're trying to do your tech and expand, which is just super... It's as greedy as you can get, basically, in this matchup. And if you don't have that option, if you go for a defensive Raven instead, I don't feel like you have many tools at your disposal, and you might fall behind from playing really, quote-unquote, safe. But Polt's not going to even do either of that. Instead, he's opting to go for early Widow Mines instead and probably get out a Marine Widow Mine drop, which we haven't seen terribly often, but it's still very potent.
Definitely so. It doesn't do nearly as much damage, I would say, as Banshees over the course of time. It's more of like a burst type style, right? Like I'm going to see how many SCVs I killed based on this. That's how I really act. That's how I really change my build-up. A nice scan on top of Polt's base is going to notify that, hey, TaeJa, Polt's probably not going Banshees. Obviously, there's no Tech Lab on there. There's no Raven that can be made from that. And so he knows for sure Cloak is going to net him some results, if not in sheer units, indirect damage by using scans instead of mules.
But we'll see how much damage he can do. Oh, he's flying over a Widow Mine. He does see that small indentation in the ground, that ditch where the Widow Mine has burrowed. And now Polt will see the early Banshee, but now we'll poke it away. It does have a turret also placed at the top of the ramp, which is very nice. Not able to really finish off the turret, but still, this starts the cloak very early and puts TaeJa a little bit on the clock. And
nice pickoff.
Faster than I thought it would be.
Really, really nice pickoff there.
Good job, once again. TaeJa's not done. He's still queuing up another Banshee while the second one moves over to the southern part of the map. This is a pretty large investment, and I think when TaeJa sees turrets and a Viking, he immediately knows, and the command center, he immediately knows what type of opening Polt is planning for.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that actually say, hey, I don't mind trading out these Banshees because technically, if you want to look at straight-up resources, it actually costs more for you to use that scan than it does for me to make Cloak and Banshees. The more Banshees I make, guess what? The more Cloak actually pays off for itself.
Really? I thought Widowmine was able to kill that Banshee, but instead not able to finish it off. Polt will use a second scan and pick it off instead. Again, very good job overall by Polt to be very defensive rather than going for aggressive option. Has managed to shut down TaeJa's harass, and now is enjoying a pretty considerable economic advantage because he has more SCVs. He started his command center earlier, so he's been mining a long time, and now is able to develop his production cycles.
For now, let's go ahead and check. Oh, nicely done. Killing another, well, the first Widowmine over here. This Banshee will be able to get in here and do a lot more damage. Oh, nicely done. Smoking this really well, making it very difficult for TaeJa to attack those SCVs. Remember, that's exactly what TaeJa wants.
Yeah, this third Banshee is still doing some stuff, but still only 4 kills. Not able to finish off any SCVs. Polt is controlling his SCVs very nicely. And now TaeJa's Banshee somewhat stuck. Really can't go to the natural without getting picked off. Instead, going to try to suicide and pick off as many works as he can before it does. 1, 2, maybe a third one?
Yes, a third one. Very nicely done.
But again, well done once again by Polt to shut down harass. And I can't help but feel Polt set himself up so much better for the mid-game than TaeJa has.
But if you look at the income tab, 39 to 38, very similar. Army tab is very similar as well. Just a couple hundred resources off from each other. Of course, another Banshee is getting up here. And I would say overall that the Widowmines, it's a lot harder to use them offensively than defensively. They're kind of like punishing tools more so than anything else. So yes, there's a lot of minerals invested into the Widowmines. I would actually say that TaeJa is in a slightly better position from that early trade.
All right, so nothing really too much of consequence really happening other than TaeJa's Banshee coming out towards the middle of the map once again. This is his 4th Banshee, and TaeJa really has to start considering other production out of his starport very soon, considering how well established Polt is. Polt's third base has finished a little later than TaeJa's, though. It's been very good for TaeJa to play greedy, but that's what we were talking about. If you're very defensive, you give your opportunity for TaeJa to try to climb back by playing super aggressive with his economy.
Yeah. And he's just been doing such a fantastic job with it. Now, again, poking in here, getting 2 kills, 48 to 45. He has the worker lead. TaeJa has the worker lead. And as you said, the third command center just helps out so much. TaeJa, this is the TaeJa we've always known since the early days of Wings of Liberty. He's just so aggressive with his builds, right? I mean, he loves to play this abusive style that's, I would say, theoretically incorrect. It has a lot of holes in it, but overall, if you don't get attacked, it's perfect. It's like a no-rush 20 minutes. You're completely efficient.
Well, now we do see that TaeJa has just poked out a little bit, trying to see if he can get his third base. Again, I think we're going to be in for a pretty long game. Neither player really trying to deviate too much from what they are comfortable with, which is Marine Tank, a lot of positioning in battles. And Polt's being, again, very diligent with how he wants to approach these. He's going to get an armory up pretty quick and try to get his +1, +2 upgrades in synchronization. Now, you know, we talked about how this map plays differently from Neoplanet S, but there still have some core similarities. There's just a lot of counterattack paths to the left and right, and sure, medevacs are great, but with the way tanks are on Acheron Waste, you have to be very discerning with how you move across the map, don't you?
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, there's some great spots for Siege Tanks to be offensively, and then also that you can shut down lanes pretty easily. If I have Siege Tanks up here, don't really expect to push across here. The one problem, though, is that, yes, this position is great, but if I just push across through the right side and go all the way up, all of a sudden your tanks are heavily out of place. So there's a lot of good places for Siege Tanks, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, you can sidestep them pretty nicely. It's whether or not this is the big area that you really have to fight for if you want to be aggressive. If you are able to maintain these areas, this is what gives you a lot of options, and that's why you see a lot of shadow boxing in the early mid-game stages to really try to claim those spots in order to have that aggressive option.
I like that Polt's being very aggressive, trying to see what he can pick off across the map. Again, limiting the amount of vision his opponent has by taking the watchtowers and trying to snipe any Marines that are grabbing visions on the high ground, like you're pointing out, Greetorp. But still, no real amount of threat being provided by TaeJa whatsoever. He's loading up a double drop, so let's see if he can make something with that happen. As there are small little spots, if Polt's not paying attention, where drops can do a lot of damage. But the army from Polt is pretty intimidating. Actually, no, TaeJa's been able to catch up because he did get that third much earlier. I take my words back. But he does have the upgrade advantage in that regard.
Oh, yeah. By a good minute, it looks like. The double drop will land on the Xel'Naga tower and just take map control. He probably can't do anything really with this drop. Since it's kind of like scouted out, it is known, so units theoretically should be in the right position, so he's not going to say, oh yeah, let's just go for it, even though it looks so juicy right now. As you can see, Polt just moving out completely. Where was that scan? Not sure exactly. Oh, but the army is spotted out right now, and Polt is just going to walk up into perfect position.
Okay. TaeJa trying to see if he can get his tanks onto a nice angle, make sure to cover almost all of this bottom area of the ramp. Now, Polt does have to worry because TaeJa has a double drop coming this way, so he's keeping some things at home. He's going to use a medevac boost to try to get some vision rather than scans. And now TaeJa does have tanked in a slightly better spot to engage. But TaeJa's drop will also get cleaned up. Polt defending on both, or Polt trying to defend on the front very nicely. And now TaeJa, he's going to push back. Polt, no form of aggression being able to be successful here, Greetorp.
That's right. I mean, this is going to work. Oh, no. Just kidding. Yeah, I mean, just being pushed back like this, but the fact of the matter is Polt has a really nice place. Now, I think he doesn't have enough siege tanks, really, to defend this area accurately, because there could be a big push out, and if Polt is able, or excuse me, TaeJa is able to micro this correctly, I think he will be able to break. But here we go.
TaeJa's going to stim and go for it, because he did pick off a lot of the tanks.
No.
Trying to use his advantage, but he does take a lot of splash damage in response. Now, keep in mind, that was just before TaeJa's 2-2. And that was a very critical mistake here from TaeJa, because he thought he would be able to pick off a lot more than he did to get in return. And now Polt was very happy with that exchange.
Absolutely. I mean, you need to stagger drop that if you want to do it. You pick up like 16 Marines inside 2 medevacs, and you need to just push it over so you mitigate the damage coming out from these siege tanks. Here we go, yet again pushing out, and it looks like Polt will lose the 3 siege tanks. Just 2, and up 3. But at the cost of all of TaeJa's Marines. And remember, those Marines are needed in order for him to really take this area and claim it. Now, Polt is going to move around. This is what I was talking about. Having this position gives you options to just do so many aggressive things.
And now Polt has taken down the rocks. He does scan it forward. Oh, he sees the tanks already in position. TaeJa doing a good job trying to use tanks to take advantage to the best of his benefit. But now TaeJa is moving around, and Polt is kind of in a very poor position where he might have to commit to something, and TaeJa might be able to pick off even more from Polt if he's not careful. But more reinforcements are coming here from Polt's side of the map.
Yeah, we're going to keep a close eye on that too, because that's going to be so needed against this upcoming Marine force. Actually, he's going to walk right past into a Widow Mine.
Wow. That could have been really disastrous, considering that Polt did have a lot of his army close by. But instead, TaeJa sees that Polt has unsieged from his position, and he's going to stim. But instead, Polt has pushed him back, because TaeJa doesn't want to overcommit once again. 3-3 almost finishing here for Polt. And that will give him a big decisive army advantage, because these Marines will be able to take down so much quicker than you imagine.
TaeJa's not out of the woodwork just yet. I mean, he still needs to reclaim this position to reset a lot of the tempo that Polt is taking right now. Polt has this high ground. He might be able to cut off a lot of these Marines. He's so careful, TaeJa, that is.
Ooh, stim again, kind of a flurry of skirmish. Now Polt's also going to flank from the right side, trying to draw the fire away, but the tanks weren't even focusing on any of the Marines in the high ground, and Polt does end up losing a significant amount of Marines. He does have his tanks, though, in a pretty good spot nonetheless. Still, very careful, because if you throw those Marines out once, you have nothing to stop a big medevac load up and drop onto your tanks instead.
TaeJa is in range of all these siege tanks, and they're going to be blown up without any return fire. This is a big, big problem. All of a sudden, Polt, where is your army? Oh my goodness, TaeJa is going to be able to break out. This is a big, big win for TaeJa, as he will finally be able to be aggressive.
Polt's going to try to rush and take out his main Marines in response. He did have a majority of his army on the rally point. He wasn't able to utilize that, but so was TaeJa. TaeJa had a big chunk of his army also defending the third base in case of any drops or run-bys with Marines. And TaeJa's been doing such a good job just defending the relentless pressure from Polt. He loves doing this kind of stuff. Polt searches for any opportunity or opening to try and attack and punish, but TaeJa's not letting him.
Also, I do want to just take note of the gigantic siege tank count advantage, and you're going to see that right here. There's just so many more siege tanks out for TaeJa. He's able to have such
this is big.
Cost-efficient trades.
Massive losses for Polt as he loses more siege tanks, and now the count an advantage. 19 tanks to 1. TaeJa's in a dominating position in just a raw army strength in this TVT, and I think if he can continue to press his advantage, Polt's going to lose a lot of space, maybe even just lose some of his expansions here.
Yeah, Polt does have more factories, though, right now, so it will help him catch up, but it's going to take minutes and minutes and minutes to really catch up to this sizable lead. Now you can see Polt is moving around, but there's just been such cost-efficient trades, I think, with these siege tanks as of late that he's so scared to actually push in. He's saying to himself, well, if I lose all these Marines, I've actually lost the game because I give my opponent the ability to just push directly into me and win. So this is really, really difficult for Polt to really micromanage.
And now TaeJa is going to continue to slow push just because now he has a little bit of the map control back on his side of the map. Polt trying to do whatever he can to cover his angles. He is starting planetaries in the middle map once again. Polt also moving for a 5th base attempt. TaeJa, meanwhile, has just kind of locked down the center. He's going to put up a sensor tower as well to continue to push his motion sensing. And again, doesn't want to overextend because Polt was a little bit too far forward and lost his tanks. Doesn't want to happen to him.
Yeah. It is pretty fantastic, though. TaeJa has been behind 2 games now and comes back in mid-game. I mean, he's been playing mid-game so well. You can really see that his tank-on-tank action is just so much better than Polt. And Polt, he's able to establish positions. He's good at being that mobile player, but when it comes down to it, he needs to keep in mind where and when he's being aggressive. I feel like Polt's just being aggressive for the sake of being aggressive a lot of times, putting his tanks in really bad position, and then losing a lot of tempo. Of course, he comes back because he just has really good mechanics, but this is a pretty big deficit to be behind. I know it doesn't look like that. The income is very even, but 21-10. Even though there is a big Marine advantage, those Marines get cleaned up so fast to the power of siege tanks.
I mean, I can understand that, but I think Polt also wants to be aggressive because if he sees an opportunity, he's going to pounce on it, just like picking off a couple of these tanks and try to even out the advantage. 3 tanks down for Polt. This is exactly what he needs. TaeJa's going to commit a lot to his Marines, and he does lose a big exchange of them.
Oh, man. And Marines coming in from the side, that's a big problem because they're going to be able to potentially do a lot of damage here.
Blindside him. A lot of medevacs are weak, but there's our tanks waiting on the high ground. TaeJa has a big majority of them.
These siege tanks are actually a mistake. No. And no, the medevacs might be cleaned up here. No, Boost is going to be able to get out of there. You know what? Those siege tanks being here was actually a big mistake, and the reason why I say that is because those are from all the way back in the mid-game when we saw him defend against the sharking around, pushing over here. Polt was really active. They didn't move, and those siege tanks were actually able to clean up very nicely. Now pushing forward, severely outnumbering Polt in his siege tank count. We'll see.
Now TaeJa's trying to see if he can pressure and force Polt to engage. There's a lot of tanks coming in from Polt, but he has to be cautious because even though he has the high ground, he can't really angle that much. Polt does manage to pick off a command center, which is a very big thing. TaeJa won't be able to continue to bank as fast as Polt will, but still, TaeJa just has such an impressive army.
Yeah, I mean, and now he's pushing even further, now attacking the planetary fortress. He's in the money position, I would say, just like we saw Polt in. How will he be able to break this, though?
He does have the Marine advantage.
God.
He's going to try to stim and see if he can pick off any units. Trying to split his Marines. Preemptively, TaeJa wasn't fighting with half of his tanks. And Polt, all of a sudden, trying to break the front of the assault. And he does, as only 1 tank and a few Marines are left. That was a fight that Polt needed to win at the cost of a planetary. Wow. Willing to take that trade.
Wow, look at the units lost tab. It is so close. TaeJa now rising up a little bit more after losing a lot of these siege tanks here. Units tab 15-13. Really crazy. Planetary Fortress will go down in the top right-hand position.
TaeJa has to be careful. The tanks are getting dropped about Greetorp, and now Polt has an opportunity to try to crush 6 of the tanks from TaeJa. He can't really afford to lose it as most of his army is out of position.
Wow.
Polt again breaks the contain from Liquid TaeJa.
Units have 14-8. All of a sudden, it's swinging really, really well in favor of Polt, and now these little tiny armies are being cleaned up yet again. 3 siege tanks over on the side, gonna be cleaned up. Great Marine micro, taking everything out. Polt climbs back into the game. It's so crazy. They keep seesawing, Frodan.
It's right back and forth, even amount of weight. And now their strengths have finally collided to the point where they both really need to start thinking about a 5th base establishment to be able to continue to reinforce, because they're now low on resources. So if they keep trading, they won't be able to max out once again. Now, TaeJa is not sieged. Polt trying to scan, see if he can get a good position, but he doesn't have all the information he needs yet because he's not aware of how many tanks his opponent has. But we know, and we see that Polt has swung the tank advantage the opposite direction. 16 tanks for Polt and only 9 for Liquid TaeJa.
Yeah, really nicely done. Now 3 siege tanks going to be dropping back. Marine's going to help defend in case there are any drops directly on top of those siege tanks. Much better position, I would say, for
Stim from TaeJa.
Oh no,
He wants
TaeJa!
to end it, but there's a lot of tanks we have to fire directly onto it. Polt does trying to see if he can hug the lower side to avoid any fire from the 13 range of the tanks. TaeJa trying desperately to secure this 5th base while Polt has his unattended to. And now Polt is trying to slowly but surely creep his way up. More siege tanks grabbing position before TaeJa, and he does start to work onto what TaeJa's would-be 5th expansion.
Oh, a couple of pot shots. Very nicely done. It looks like TaeJa, though, will take the worst end of that stick. 10-10 now in terms of siege tank counts. You know, we talk a lot about the siege tank count numbers because that's what really gives you the ability to take a lot of position here. And they're dead even 31 minutes into the game.
Notice that these tanks are really weak. Polt wants to end it. He's going to try to see if he can focus fire. Again, 3 go down almost instantly. A big flank from the northern part as well. And Polt is going to sacrifice most of his tanks. TaeJa instead going to be able to counter flank. And now Polt has lost the majority of his army. And again, momentum has swung the opposite direction. These two players fighting tooth and nail. But it looks like TaeJa has finally been able to break his own contain from Polt.
Yep, but walking into siege tanks, not the best move, Frodan. Now everything cleans up from TaeJa.
Polt's trying to see if he can end it.
Oh my goodness. And every Marine is going to be traded over here. 5th bases have been established, so they're going to keep trading like this. This is kind of sloppy.
A little bit, but we have to keep in mind it's 32
There's so
minutes
much that's going on
in the game. There's a lot of action. TaeJa's trying to expand, but both players are still sending out Marines here and there to fight for watchtower control. Scans non-stop while trying to keep up your production. You're telling me this is hard, Greetorp.
Yeah, it is hard.
There's like 6 or 7 different things. I'm pulling up the APM tab, and Polt is playing almost close to 300 average.
Sweet Jesus. 232 to 280. Really, really fast speeds for both these players. Now, the emphasis now no longer should be in these areas, but to deny the 5th base. The 5th base is actually really, really hard to establish sometimes when you have this very mobile type of armies. And here we go. Oh no, siege tanks are going to be picked off over here. TaeJa not paying attention. Chase is going to be given, and the Marines will be able to pick off, it looks like 2 more tanks at least. Nope, just 1 more.
Man, Polt
but
also held.
Oh my
he also
God.
held the command center, and now Polt's in the production line. TaeJa was a little bit too aggressive and was not able to do the damage he needed. Polt scans, and now all of a sudden, TaeJa, every unit that pops out is going to die almost instantaneously. TaeJa still hasn't killed the command center top right. Polt is still repairing, and now TaeJa's going to lose almost everything. Polt's in a prime position to win this game here, Greetorp.
Polt's just going to keep massing up, ready to break that top right-hand position so he can go back to mining. Do keep in mind, as you said, all the production is being taken out. Does he have any production elsewhere? No, he does not. So this is a really, really terrible position for TaeJa. He's finally going to try to bust this down, but losing a lot of
building
Marines.
Armor! He's trying to hold as best he can. The planetary hold does fall, but it held for just long enough, as TaeJa has been distracted for far too long, and he lost almost all of his barracks. I'm clicking on what he has. And we look at the structures tab T. He only has 1 barracks left. TaeJa can only make 1 or 2 Marines at a time at the moment.
2 Marines at a time right now. It's really, really difficult. A swell of barracks are being made over here in the mid or top right-hand position, but a lot of Marines are going to try to break that, but sees a lot of tanks. He's going to back up from here, but Polt, I mean, he is in fantastic
Might be a finishing
position.
move out here as he's now splitting some of his Marines to try and take out some of the tanks. TaeJa, this is the last expansion they need to hold on to. The production line has been completely annihilated. All of the army has been eviscerated off the map. TaeJa, what is he clinging on to? He does have a bank, but he can't even spend his money.
He has nothing. I mean, oh, okay. In the bottom left-hand position, he's tried to remake everything yet again. A lot of barracks being thrown down, and siege tanks definitely help out with this planetary fortress. But look at how many units still exist. Polt is moving out from the main base of TaeJa. Now going to deny a little bit of economy, but he still has his economy going, and of course his production.
TaeJa is in trouble, but he just has so much money that he doesn't want to leave. And now TaeJa, I mean, sure, he's still mining. Sure, he's getting up his production. But can he really do anything? He's just holding on, stalling for time.
Yeah.
Perhaps think of a game plan. Maybe just trying to annoy Polt. That's probably what I would do in this situation.
I mean, definitely so. It takes so little for you to just be annoying. Lift up your command center, float to the bottom left-hand corner. No big deal.
Right, and TaeJa just doing what he can. This southwest expansion is all that remains. TaeJa now trying to finish up the starport as well. And he really is trying to hold on to whatever he can, but almost everything is getting cleaned up. The northeast expansion has been destroyed, and Polt is now enjoying an almost max capacity. GG!